Today, bringing a new life into the world is a massive medical event. We rely on sterile hospital rooms, dedicated teams of doctors, heart monitors, and powerful epidurals. Now, imagine giving birth 50,000 years ago in the middle of a freezing Ice Age forest, without a single doctor, hospital, or painkiller in sight. For modern humans, this sounds like an absolute nightmare, a lonely, agonizing death sentence. Because of this, we naturally assume that prehistoric women simply rolled the dice with nature and hoped for the best. But the truth is, ancient mothers did not just leave their lives up to blind luck. They didn't just passively survive childbirth, they revolutionized it. What if I told you that our ancient foremothers actually possessed profound biological wisdom and community strategies that made prehistoric labor far more advanced and calculated than you ever imagined? If you watch almost any movie set in the Stone Age, you will likely see a completely false depiction of prehistoric childbirth. The scene usually goes like this. A pregnant cave woman feels a sharp contraction, quietly steps away from her tribe, wanders alone into a dark cave, and silently pushes out a baby. A few hours later, she casually returns to the camp with a newborn and goes right back to gathering berries. We tend to view ancient humans as wild animals. Since wild mammals like deer or chimpanzees instinctively isolate themselves to give birth silently to avoid predators, we assume ancient women did the exact same thing. However, this lone animal myth completely ignores the massive, agonizing biological paradox of human evolution. Millions of years ago, our ancestors underwent two drastic physical changes that made human childbirth the most difficult and dangerous of any mammal on Earth. First, we stood up. To achieve bipedal walking, the ability to walk perfectly upright on two legs, human anatomy had to completely redesign the pelvis. The pelvic bones became shorter, thicker, and significantly narrower, twisting the birth canal into a highly complex, tight corridor. Second, our brains exploded in size. As we evolved to become the smartest creatures on the planet, human babies developed massive brains, resulting in skulls that are incredibly large relative to the mother's body. This combination created what anthropologists call the obstetrical dilemma, trying to push a gigantic object through a very narrow, twisting, and rigid tunnel. Because of this incredibly tight and complicated fit, human babies are forced to rotate inside the birth canal and are almost always born facing backward, looking away from the mother. This might seem like a minor detail, but it is biologically devastating if you are giving birth alone. Because the baby is facing away, a mother giving birth alone cannot safely reach down to guide the baby out without risking bending its spine in the wrong direction. She cannot easily clear the umbilical cord if it wraps around the infant's neck, and she cannot quickly lift the baby to clear its airway. If a prehistoric woman attempted to give birth completely alone, like a solitary wild animal, the risk of fatal complications would be astronomically high. Solitary childbirth in the Paleolithic era was not a symbol of rugged prehistoric toughness. It was biological suicide. To survive this evolutionary trap, humanity had to invent something entirely new. To survive the deadly biological trap of the narrow pelvis and the massive human brain, early humans did not evolve a different body structure. Instead, they evolved a revolutionary social behavior. They invented midwifery. Long before hospitals, modern medicine, or written language existed, the concept of assisted childbirth became an absolute necessity for human survival. Anthropologists refer to this unique phenomenon as obligate midwifery. Human beings are the only species on Earth that are biologically wired to actively seek out and require physical assistance during labor. When a prehistoric woman went into labor, she was never abandoned to suffer alone in the dark. Instead, she was immediately surrounded by a highly specialized, protective support network made up of the most experienced older women in her tribe. These ancient midwives were not panicked bystanders. They were seasoned veterans of the wilderness who had successfully survived childbirth themselves and had assisted in dozens of other deliveries. They were the ultimate safety net, possessing a wealth of generational knowledge passed down through thousands of years of oral tradition. These prehistoric midwives provided critical physical and emotional support. They knew exactly how to soothe the mother, using rhythmic massage and comforting vocalizations to drastically reduce her fear and anxiety. This was not just for comfort. Reducing stress was biologically essential to lower adrenaline, which can instantly stall labor and increase oxytocin, the vital hormone that drives contractions. Furthermore, these women were master botanists. They safely utilized specific local plants, roots, and tree barks to help manage severe pain, induce necessary contractions, or stop dangerous postpartum bleeding. Most importantly, when the crucial moment of birth finally arrived, the midwives were perfectly positioned to solve the backward-facing baby dilemma. While the exhausted mother pushed, the midwife would carefully catch the infant, expertly guiding its delicate neck and fragile spine to prevent any severe injury. They possessed the vital survival skills to quickly untangle the umbilical cord if it was dangerously wrapped around the infant's neck, and they immediately cleared fluids from the baby's airway so it could safely take its first breath of ice-age air. Without this powerful, unbreakable circle of women, humanity simply would not exist today. If you walk into a modern hospital delivery room today, you will almost certainly see the exact same medical setup. The laboring mother will be lying flat on her back on a hospital bed. Because this is the standard procedure in the modern Western world, we naturally assume it is the safest, most biologically efficient way to give birth. But if a prehistoric midwife were transported through time to witness this modern scene, she would be absolutely horrified. From a purely biomechanical standpoint, lying flat on your back is arguably the worst possible position for pushing a massive object out of the human body. The modern practice of giving birth while lying on the back was not originally designed for the comfort or the biological efficiency of the laboring mother. It was actually popularized over the last few centuries, largely because it made the entire process much more convenient for attending doctors. It allows the physician to have a clear line of sight and an ergonomic angle to easily monitor the birth. However, this medical convenience comes at a massive biological cost. When a woman lies flat on her back, lying down completely locks her tailbone in place, essentially closing the pelvic outlet and forcing the exhausted mother to push the baby uphill entirely against the powerful force of the Earth's gravity. Prehistoric women, free from the rigid constraints of modern hospital beds, naturally followed their profound biological instincts. They fully understood and utilized the gravity advantage. They remained highly active and upright throughout their entire labor. When it was finally time to push, ancient women would intuitively adopt vertical positions. They would deeply squat on the earth, fiercely kneel on animal skins, or even hang their body weight by tightly gripping a sturdy low tree branch or wrapping their arms around the strong shoulders of their dedicated midwives. These upright positions provided an absolutely massive biomechanical advantage. By squatting, the mother allowed her flexible pelvic bones to shift and dynamically expand, effectively increasing the total size of the pelvic opening by up to 30%. Simultaneously, the immense downward pull of gravity acted as an invisible assistant, naturally pulling the baby down through the complicated birth canal. By simply working in perfect harmony with the laws of physics, our brilliant ancient ancestors drastically reduced the total duration of agonizing labor and significantly minimized the risk of fatal complications. The ultimate irony of human history is how we define progress. We often look back at the Stone Age and arrogantly dismiss our ancestors as primitive, yet their intuitive wisdom solved the biomechanical paradox of birth far more effectively than some of our modern methods. Ancient women maximized efficiency by utilizing the gravity advantage and the support of an unbreakable, specialized community of midwives. Today, we have traded this intuitive, community-based wisdom for the immense safety of modern sterile environments, emergency interventions, and life-saving technology. While modern outcomes are astronomically safer, we cannot deny that the mechanics and feeling of birth have sometimes moved away from their optimal, connected origins. We must find a way to honor the primal wisdom of birth while embracing the incredible advancements of modern safety. We want to provide a very important, serious medical disclaimer here. Modern medicine, sterile hospitals, and skilled physicians save millions of lives every year. Understanding prehistoric birth patterns is incredibly fascinating, but you must respect the specialized knowledge of your modern healthcare providers. We are not doctors, evolutionary biologists, or medical professionals. The information provided in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Do not attempt to use Paleolithic survival tactics for actual medical events. If learning the surprising truth about ancient birth made you respect your ancestors more than ever? Hit that like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing history myths busted. Let us know in the comments. Do you think we should try to reintegrate more natural movement into modern births? Keep wondering, keep learning, and as always, stay simply ancient.